Welcome to the AT Assessment Process by Tara Jeffs. I want to share with you some general information about my participant. My participant's name is Frances. Of course, that's a made-up name to protect her identity, but Frances is a 7-year-old student who was found eligible for special education in October of 2012. She is eligible for special education under the disability category of developmental delay as stated in her IEP. Frances also meets the criteria for a diagnosis of pervasive developmental disorder and speech delay. I had an interview with Frances' classroom teacher, and she revealed that Frances is not able to independently communicate with unfamiliar communication partners due to the nature of some of the signs as well as limited number of individuals who are familiar with conventional sign language. Frances' classroom teacher is also concerned that Frances has difficulty attending to a lesson or task for longer than 2 minutes. Frances' current status is that she requires verbal models and cues for most utterances containing 2 or more words. She has delays in speech and language, which impairs her ability to express her wants and needs, as well as her understanding of things that are asked of her on an age-appropriate level. She has difficulties in personal social skills, in how to relate with other children and adults and how to express her feelings, as well as her ability to deal with her environment in an effective manner. Frances is able to follow simple, familiar verbal cues, usually in regards to classroom routines. She can also associate words with objects and is even more successful with visual and gestural cues. Frances' speech and language pathologist shares the following information. Frances is able to communicate in a back-and-forth turn-taking style. She uses sign language and gestures during some of these exchanges, and Frances tolerates physical cues to help form sounds. She uses words to meet her needs and will often request items. She enjoys pretending to be the teacher and will use jargon and word approximations while reading stories, singing familiar tunes, and during play. Frances' speech and language pathologist also shared that Frances produces some appropriate environmental noises such as eating sounds during play as well, and Frances currently produces the following sounds in word approximations and vocalizations, or jargons for P, B, and M. Existing supports in Frances' current educational environment include interactive whiteboards, 4 network computers with a printer, use of visuals throughout the classroom, a variety of manipulatives and interactive toys, a variety of sensory materials such as balls and mats and rocking chairs and swings, provision of multisensory prompts for communication including visualizations and visuals, verbalizations and visuals, designated areas for snack, instruction, computer, and play, and single switches from 4 to 8 cells with voice output. Currently, Frances' accommodations is visual supports, pictures, visual schedules, and a first-then board. Here you see an example of the first-then board. Frances was observed in her summer school classroom setting. Her classroom teacher shared that Frances does not participate in classroom activities. The teacher is not sure how much information or knowledge Frances has to offer and share because Frances typically walks around the room all day and doesn't say a word. The AT specialist, that would be me, I asked the classroom teacher if Frances enjoys technology. She replied that Frances enjoyed watching videos. So I pulled the classroom teacher aside and I showed her an iPad with the AAC app to see if she would be willing to try it with Frances while we were there. She did, and she was amazed. Let me show you a very short video.
Alright, we did not get birds. We got boy, and we got book. We got boy and book, but not bird. Okay, show me car. Show me color. Color.
That's kind of cool.
You found color. Yeah. Okay, let's see what.
On your music, now you're seeing the same thing on yours.
Let's see. Let's go. Oh, core word list. Let me go back to the core. Wait, the grid. Home. Been a lot of uses. Okay, categories.
Categories.
Which one should we do? Can you find one colors? Okay, where's red? Show me red.
Red.
Orange.
Orange.
How about blue? Blue. Okay, good job at that. Let's see what else we can find. Let's find living creature.
So in one short minute, we can see that Frances has the ability to identify colors and enjoys sharing what colors that she knows. The recommendations of this assistive technology assessment, recommendations 1, includes to go ahead and expand the use of the visuals that are already in place to support communication throughout the classroom. If the team chooses to use this recommendation, the wording in the IEP could look like visual supports for communication. Recommendation 2 is continue to use sabotage strategy by staging situations to create more communication opportunities for sabotaging the environment, so that Frances will need to use communication for commenting, requesting, or protesting. For example, during an art activity, the staff could provide an incorrect item or hide a needed item, or could omit or do a step incorrectly. Attachment B provides some ideas of sabotage. The article on sabotage is also available at the following website. Recommendation 3, consider the use of a dynamic multi-cell, multi-level voice output device for communication. The device needs to be available to her throughout the environment. If the team uses this recommendation, it could be worded as a dynamic multi-cell, multi-level voice output device. Recommendation 4, consider expanding the use of the communication system, working on understanding that communication is a matter of turn-taking and impacting her environment will be an important factor to make Frances an effective communicator. Communication is you take a turn, I take a turn. For some people, this is just an inherent concept. I take a turn talking, then you respond, and then I respond to you, and we'll go on like this, taking turns until communication exchange is complete. But for others like Frances, this is a skill that needs to be learned. Likewise, communication means being able to impact the environment around you and to meet your needs and wants. And once you can make a request, I want that, you can ask a question and more. Before we jump into our resources, I should had put into the current status information that I wouldn't typically jump right into a dynamic device for a nonverbal student, but in this case, Frances had the ability to try throughout 2 years before, try different simple voice output devices and was not interested in it at all. So motivation is a big key for Frances as well. Here you have resources listed for core vocabulary, if that's the way the team would like to go with Frances. Here are examples of core vocabulary, starting with the first 12 core vocabulary. words. Then that can be moved to 20 words of core vocabulary. Here's the attachment B, the sabotage information the team could try. And then also carrier phrases or sentence starters, which help bring in that core vocabulary. That moves us right into, in this case, we saw Frances using an iPad with an AAC app on it. So we want to provide the team with some options to consider. She was using Proloquo to Go in the video, which is $219. There's also, if we're looking at core vocabulary apps, LAMP Words for Life at $299, and Unity System New Voice software is also available. For page-based communication apps, there's the Tobii Sonaflex at $99, the Touch Chat at $149, and there's also the app database that I want the team to be aware of. I always end the AT reports with important notes of who's going to implement and those types of things, my contact information. More importantly, in this particular case, I would need to guide the team through what apps may be best for Frances, and to see if that we have any available to try before we actually jump in and get started with it. So basically that's the AT report process in a nutshell.